Gladys, what are you doing in the shower?
With it, crew, drop.
Starbucks was completely out of puppuccinos.
this election more so than 2016 because of the outcome of 2016. And I think a lot of people are feeling gatful.
No one's gonna buy a Highsung anyway, so I don't know if I'm gonna even waste my time test driving it. Cue the intro. 544, but I 35 miles an hour. So it is unusual. I did a double take, triple take. I did a double take when I realized, I was like, hold up, is that a V-twin? And I've never seen. The power is much more consistent. It's not like no power, no power, no power, all the power that when you get like 8,000 RPMs. It's just the same the whole way through. Make sure I'm doing the proper speeds. All right. So the shifting feels great. This bike it does not feel like a small bike. I mean, it's a huge giant tank. I got plenty of room on this thing. This feels exactly like a 600 Super Sport would feel. The grips and all these buttons, they look just as good as anything else. I mean, I'm really not seeing, there's nothing cheap about this bike other than the price. Classic gauges for a Super Sport, you know, where you have the digital speedometer and analog tachometer. The clutch feels like incredibly light, but you still kind of, it doesn't feel so light that there's nothing there, but it is close to that. The gearbox feels good. I'm getting great feedback kind of everywhere. I'd say the front brakes feel about what you would expect for a bike like this. They just, I mean, it's only one side. No, is it? Hold up. No, we have both sides. We have twins. I don't know what I was thinking. I'm very impressed with the power. With the I think this 250 thing is where it's at. I think the other companies need to start doing the exact same thing. A V-twin 250 feels great, and it ends up just feeling like a bigger bike than what. And mainly because the reason that is because these other bikes they don't feel like they have really any power at the lower RPMs. Now it's fine because you hang out in the other, and you'd end up hanging out in the higher RPMs anyway, which is fine. But I'm actually pretty impressed with how this feels. And extremely impressed with the price at $2,300 bucks, which kind of blows my mind away for a 2016 brand new bike with 2 miles on it. We're gonna go jump on the highway, see if we can do a 0 to 60. I'm thinking this thing's gonna be like 5.5. I'm hoping to get less than 6. But the thing about this bike is it is a 250. It's not what it's not what anyone would consider fast. If you know how to use it right and you can properly put the power to the ground, I think you might be surprised with what it can do. But it's not a fast bike, and it shouldn't be a fast bike. If you want a fast bike, they make really fast bikes. Go get a fast bike. The goal is not how fast can we make a 250 entry-level bike. The goal is, let's build a, you know, that is the goal with 600s. It's like, let's get more and more and more power, and with the 1000s, definitely. Let's get as much power as we possibly can. But for bikes like this, the goal is not power. It's just, is it a good delivery of the power, and is it a good just all-around entry-level bike? Because they're not trying to make these things with big power. They can make this thing with 70 horsepower if they wanted to, but then what's the point? People who want fast bikes are going to go with a bigger bike. People who want this bike, this is the right amount of power. This is the best. This is the most appropriate amount of power that's going to keep you out of bad situations, because you're quick enough that you can get out of them, and it's not going to get you in trouble. And it's slow enough that it's not going to put you in bad situations. Such as, you know what I mean, you gave it too much clutch, you're too much throttle, and you were too quick on the clutch, and, you know, got out of control of you or something like that. That's not going to happen. You can make mistakes on this bike. New rider, listen, let's just be honest. New riders make more mistakes than, you know, veteran riders. I can't tell you the last time I was revving it up too much and dumped the clutch because my muscle memory just forgot. It doesn't happen. That's why you have old guys, you have, you know, guys in like their 80s still riding bikes, still doing awesome stuff, and they're fine because they've been doing it for 30 years. Probably the only thing they remember. Nah, I'm just kidding. Old guys, they know.
So you can go and have a ride. But back to Yamaha. But what we've got here, go for a ride for. I'm not very impressed yet, but I haven't ridden it very. It's not like I remember it. There's not as many bikers around today riding. So if this is your first big bike, we were when we were 18. The tyres are awful. They're like made of wood. And for a new
Hello and welcome to Bike Portal. This is Hyosung GT250R that carries most of its styling cues from its bigger sibling, the GT650R. It is a full-size bike with aggressive and sporty looks. It carries 249cc oil-cooled V-twin engine. So let's check how does it fare against all of its competition. Certainly, the best thing about this motorcycle are the looks. And there are many people out there who go for this bike just for the fact that it looks no lesser than any of the bigger capacity motorcycles. Dimensionally, this bike is huge compared to all of its riding. The bike received its updates. It got a reshaped nose, and old air scoops were made sleeker and more aerodynamic. The new GTR also get a V-shaped headlight, and the windscreen has do what it does the best. It feels planted, it feels stable even on the sharpest corners. It runs on a 249cc oil-cooled engine that delivers 28 bhp of maximum power at 10,000 rpm and 22 Nm of peak torque at 8,000 rpm. Since GT250R is a heavy machine, the 28 bhp sounds less when power-to-weight ratio is in consideration. It might not be as quick as its rivals, but it sure matches their top speed numbers. The engine delivers the power linearly throughout the rev range, and bike feels happy when it's revving between 6,000 to 8,000 rpm. If there is one part where the GT250R scores the most points, then it is its handling. It's not a lightweight machine, which actually adds to GTR stability through corners, though its weight makes it not a very agile machine when changing directions. Despite being an oil-cooled unit, the bike doesn't heat up even in the stop-and-go city traffic. Though the riding position can be a bit tiring for trundling around the city at low speeds, but take her out on the curves and she will reward you with a smile. It does take time to settle your hands on it, but once you learn how to control it, the GT250R will reward you with the confidence to scrape your knee pads every next corner you come across. The bike feels planted at high speeds, especially when your throttle is fully pinned down and the bike is doing in excess of 160 km per hour. It won't wobble or try to scare you, and it feels really stable. If you're there for a feature-packed, good-looking motorcycle and don't really mind spending a bit on the higher side, then using GT250R might just be an interesting option for you. This is the time to say goodbye. Ride safe.
Do you know how to go faster? Think slowly. Think about Harley Davidson. This one displaces 1.2 liters, costs 13 grand, and dynos at 58 freedom power. Then think about Indian Scout Bobber. Same, but 83 horsepower. There's one place Indian can find a 43% gain, one time. It's the turn of the century, and lubrication science is inexact. Riders are told to grab a crude quart of whatever the 5 and dime is selling, squirt it into their engines, wait until much of the oil leaks back out, then repeat. Total loss lubrication is the norm until 1936, hence the old truism, if it ain't leaking oil, it's out of oil. And hence, engines typically turn slow. Otherwise, you risk flinging too much lubricant away and seizing before the next squirt. So how do we get power out of a slow engine? Well, horsepower is torque times RPM over 5252, so if we can't raise RPM, we need to raise torque. Consider a fat piston. Our explosion takes a while to exert its force across the piston head, so that hit of torque is spread thin. And for a given displacement, a fat bore means a short stroke, so our weak force is operating on a stubby little lever. What a chode. But with a tall, narrow cylinder, our explosion instantly exerts its force across the full piston head, and a longer stroke means a longer crankshaft radius. So more force transmitted through a more effective lever results in more torque. This is why old-fashioned engines tend to be tall. Their long stroke allows for decent power while keeping RPM low. Nowadays, lubrication and machining have significantly advanced. Why chase a few torques when you can just add a few thousand RPM? And that's an easier way to find power when we can throw pistons as fast as we want without melting them. Of course, fire only moves as fast as it wants, which is a problem for our tall cylinders. See, the piston in an undersquare motor has to travel further, and therefore faster per revolution. At high RPM, such a piston will actually start to outrun the expanding fireball. And this is why if you've ever revved up a tall V-twin, it starts to feel like it's running out of legs. And the solution, gentlemen? Choose the chode. Even at high RPM, the piston needn't move that fast or far, meaning it's always there, near top dead center, to feel the force of combustion. And if our over-square motor can hit higher revolutions per minute while feeling more torque at those speeds, then congratulations, we just found the modern way to make power. Indian knows this. But of course Harley does too. The difference lies between knowing the way forward and being able to move in that direction. See, our over-square motor spins so fast you need overhead cams to open and close the valves. You can't use pushrod actuators, they're heavy, and heavy things don't like to change direction quickly, so they fail to keep up with engine speed and float their tappets behind the cams. But Harley-Davidsons must have pushrods on the side of their motors. 2 extra penises per cylinder. It's iconic. And if you think that's a hard sell, then remember how your engine is hottest here, where combustion happens, and here, where combustion acts. It's the cylinder walls that are comparatively cool. So in an over-square engine, less gas gets to shed heat, and it takes more time to do it. Meaning we have to compensate with better cooling, liquid cooling. But Harley-Davidsons must have air cooling fins. It's iconic. And there, we've reached the place where nostalgia pushes back on